timely, insightful, discussion and analysis of economic trends and markets. From Southern California to Sacramento, featuring business and political leaders, unique field reports. From Orange County and the campus of Chapman University, this is the Chapman Business Report.
Welcome back to the Chapman Business Report. Pete Weitzner joined by the boss, Dr. Esmael Adibi. In our last moments, we were talking about the almost booming U.S. economy. I mean, its happy days are here again relative to the last 5 years. Stock market at records, growth in the economy not great, unemployment at a 5-year low, 7.7%.
Yeah.
And you know, for much of that 3-4 years, Essie, when we emerged from the recession, early part of 2010, we emerged from the recession.
Yeah, you're close.
Did it without housing, really, right?
Yeah.
And now housing kind of carrying. I know the consumer's holding up its part. Government is not. Exports are down. Europe. But housing, and let's just start with new home sales, a smaller component, but new home sales create jobs. So in the U.S., new home sales in January were up 16%. Those construction jobs we pointed out, 48,000 in February. Look at new home sales. I know it's anomalous when it's just a county of 3 million people, but they jumped 100% in Orange County. So what is behind, first of all, the overall rise in home sales? Because January is not a good month.
Yes.
Bad weather.
Yes.
And then new home sales,
let me correct
which are more
you.
expensive.
Let me correct you one thing.
I
Good
know.
old days are back. You know, it is not good old days. I mean, that's what makes me worried, that some people are looking at the construction sector
If
and
I
say,
own a home in
"Oh,
Phoenix,
good old
I made
days."
22% in the last year.
Yeah.
That's the good old days.
Yeah, but you lost 80% probably of value. So the
Or
point,
I'm one of those 3 people, and we all hate them. They bought in
Let's
2009.
let's look at, no, it was a great opening and good analysis of what's going on. What is happening, we basically saw a surge in purchases, both on resale and new homes. Why? Job creation. We always say when job creation kicks in, it leads to household formation. When household formation is taking place, then people leave their parents' home, they get married, they need demand for housing, whether it's rental or purchases. So jobs were the main engine of what we saw happening in the housing market. Couple that with very low mortgage rates environment and obviously affordability at historical high, all of that helped basically demand to go higher and higher against overwhelming supply. But what happened on the supply side, on the new home fronts, we weren't building anything for the last few years, so there was a pent-up demand there. And the resale market, which was overshadowed by foreclosure and short sales, that is also shrinking. So increasing demand and moderation in the supply, and in fact, like in Orange County, supply is shrinking really rapidly. When you put those two together,
Oh my God, just the last year.
Yeah, it leads to higher prices, and it leads to more
We have less than half
construction
the homes we
activities.
had this time last
Exactly.
year.
And
that was down.
Now, going back to good old days, just to put things in perspective, we were building nationally over 2 million homes. Right. Now we're going to probably do 1 million this year. But
good
let's
increase.
put it, and again, go back to one phrase that you used, and I loved it. Everything is relative. We're doing 1 million homes now.
Why don't you tell me to buy housing stocks?
Well, I don't want to say I told you so.
You told me to buy housing stocks.
1 million homes now we're building, and this is from building 500,000 homes. So when you see the swing from 500,000 to 1 million, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to create jobs in construction sector, and then low mortgage rates.
For every new home,
exactly, because see, when you, especially new homes, is very important for the economy because a multiplier effect. You just use multiplier.
People have to furnish them.
You have to furnish it. You have to make tons of trips to Home Depot, put patio cover, landscaping. All of that means job creation. So that is really bright side of the U.S. economy. Actually, if you want to name 2 or 3 things that are bright in our economy now, housing is definitely a good news. Energy is another good news, that we are producing a bunch of, oil and gas all over the country, which is good for job creations and also long run to help us to bring the gas down. And
keep going. Pay no attention to the hand, but you mentioned energy. I'm going to point something out to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, and plus when you add capital spending, businesses for the first time since the last couple of years, they're loaded with money, they're spending money on capital equipment,
Cisco,
machinery.
right?
Exactly. So all of that
Caterpillar
is good news for us.
Speaking of gas, Out there, just beyond Bakersfield, they got this thing called the Monterey Formation. Are you familiar with it?
I heard of it, and this is pretty much what's happening in North Dakota. And,
right.
And,
we
and
got
the
4
Shell.
times what they got. That one's called the Bakken.
Yeah.
The one in Monterey's got 1 point. Let me check my figures here, boss.
It's a huge
Because you know the
number.
oil industry very well. 15
billion.
billion barrels of oil.
Potential.
Give me
potential.
perspective. How much is that?
But the problem. Okay.
This is deep in the ground, folks. About 2 miles deep in the ground.
Yeah, what they have to
do.
do.
The terrible word.
Don't get too excited.
Fracking is what we would need to extract.
Exactly. And for those people who haven't heard of the term fracking, which to me is a weird name they have used.
Hydraulic fracturing.
It's basically horizontal drilling.
Right.
Typically, when
Way
you
down in the ground.
you go down typically.
And here we would be fracking in a place known for earthquakes.
Exactly. So, and actually there's like in Pennsylvania area, they had a couple of earthquakes and they attributed it to fracking problems.
I'm sure they did.
But nonetheless, if oil prices stay high and that's what really because it's expensive operation.
Very expensive.
Don't think fracking is like a natural, oil well.
But at $90, it's probably worth it.
Probably worth it. But we have.
And there's geopolitical concerns, reduce our foreign
Don't get too
dependence.
excited because in California, doing these sort of things.
You think they got to get through the Sierra Club and folks like that?
It's extremely difficult. So
okay,
don't count on that.
But a lot of folks
one.
are looking, and there's test wells being drilled right now.
Yeah.
Okay, you got me off track. We're going to get back to housing because it's been a terrific story. In January, not a good month. Resales, U.S. total was, but I'm looking at new homes now. By the way, new homes usually don't sell, actually, of course they're going to sell less than resale. There's a lot fewer of them, and they're more expensive.
Sure.
But relative basis, people are opting for new homes these days. How come?
Yeah, part of it is, again, the financing also.
Right, they can more easily finance, and there's still a lot of bad credit out there.
And also some builders providing financing and incentives for people.
So
make
they're
it easier.
better tied into the Freddie, Fannie, and...
Make it easier for people to buy. And some of these, by the way, are multifamily, though, new homes that we're building, which the price range is a little bit is not as expensive that you might think.
Sure.
Because these are smaller units, particularly in Orange County and Southern California, which is much cheaper than a single family, and that attracts lots of first-time home buyers to buying these new homes.
Cash buyers too. We'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah.
January median in Orange County 460 means we've made about 100,000 back on the median.
Yeah, see,
645 was the all-time high.
Yeah, I'm a little bit nervous about these price data. Actually, the next few months,
affordability is getting really rough, pretty rough here.
The next few months, we're going to get price appreciation year over year, double-digit for Orange County and most areas of Southern California. But part of the reason is because beginning of last year, January, February, March, April, the prices were very depressed. Most of the gains happened the latter part of 2012. So on year-over-year basis, you're going to see double-digit, but I believe it's going to moderate as we go through the year.
Do you worry about affordability? My colleague John Lansner, longtime business columnist at the Register, says the Orange County premium is back to 3, costs 3 times to buy the average Orange County home.
Still, everything is relative. Yeah. I mean, it's becoming less affordable compared to what it was 2 years ago, but compared to what was going on in 2006, it's still much more affordable to live in Orange County. And you have to put things in perspective or in relationship to rents. Rents have gone up.
You think?
Drastically. And what happens?
1722 in LA now.
Yeah. So what does it mean is if you want to buy a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, let's say a condo, what would be effective your payment, principal, interest and property taxes, versus if you rent the same unit, and they're still very close, which means purchase versus rent is still favoring purchase.
Last question. We still hear from a lot of skeptics about shadow inventory.
Yes.
Is there a lot out there? In other words, do banks have a lot of foreclosed properties that they're holding on to?
Yeah, there's notice of default, which is a prelude for foreclosure and short sales, have dropped significantly across Southern California, double-digit, 30-40% decline in notice of default, which suggests we're not going to see huge numbers when it comes to foreclosure and short sale. And add to it, financial institutions are much stronger now to negotiate with the homeowner who's in trouble to reduce the interest payments on their loan, to even reduce principal. So all of that should help to reduce, I believe, the supply of foreclosed property and short sale in the marketplace, which is good for the market.
It continues to be good for sellers. It's just that short supply and demand with 3% mortgage rates and an improving economy. Next show, the boss every quarter, and he and Ray Sphere at the Anderson Center for Economic Forecasting survey, California consumers, let you know if they are becoming more confident. That's on our next Chapman Business Report. For Esmael Adibi, I'm Pete Weitzner.